Ben Coomber, welcome to Strategy and Tragedy. About a year ago, you wrote an open letter to Steven Bartlett about spreading health misinformation. That video has since garnered over 1 million views. What was the upshot of that?
Well, he blocked me on Instagram. Or his team did. So that's one thing. The second thing is like there was a bit of a slurry of activity after that. So media started to write a bit more. They started to dig into his past. Then they were like, oh, flight story, investor. So whether I created any kind of domino, I don't know. I'm not going to claim that. I also know that there's a company that he's involved in where it was a discussion point with the board. Like, do we want to do anything with this information and stuff? And there was a point in time, I think almost 6 months ago, they've brought in a process in the YouTube where they were like, oh, we're now doing more fact checking, we're now kind of looking at stuff, we're looking at the research. So things have changed positively on the whole, or at least they're intimating things changing. Whether I had an effect, I've absolutely no idea. But with 1 million views, maybe a few important people saw it. I don't know.
I'm sure you had at least some effect there, Ben. And I want to obviously dive into like why that was so important to you, why it mattered so much. Obviously, you're the founder of a health brand yourself, which we will dive into all of that. But sticking with this sort of Steven Bartlett theme a little bit, because I know so many people are so disappointed and frustrated with kind of the new direction that's kind of gone in. The state of social media today, truth is not as attractive as it should be. It's definitely not treated with the same level of respect. How are you kind of reconciling all these sorts of like tips, tricks? I know you've got a big following on social media as well, right? Like clickbaity hooks and shock tactics, and doing kind of what needs to be done to kind of play that game and raise your head above the parapet and get visible, versus not compromising on your values and still retaining the truthfulness of what you're talking about.
So with social media, I see two people winning. There's the people that play into the algorithm, they do the game, they know all the hacks, and they just kind of go all in, and that's absolutely fine. And then the other end of the spectrum, there's people that really know their craft. They're talking truth. They're in alignment with themselves. So everything they're talking about is congruent. You can feel the energy from them. You're like, okay, I kind of trust you. And then there's all the people in the middle that are trying to speak their truth, trying to give education, but also try and play the algorithm game. And they're just getting lost. And I think we've all got caught in that.
Yeah.
And I've been through a period, quite recently where I've been trying to think about, okay, where's my personal brand morphing? I've morphed as a person. And actually, I can't really do it the way that I used to. I want to kind of change it. So I think if anyone's listening to this and they're trying to use social media, like the best thing you can do is get very aligned with yourself, get very aligned with what it is that you're about. We talk about authenticity.
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of part of it.
Yeah.
What's your own truth? Who are you talking to? Like, if I think about myself as a coach, because I coach entrepreneurs, the person I'm trying to speak to is me 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of people are trying to help or provide a product or a service. Like if you have a baby care brand, well, you're talking to new mums and you were once the new mum and you know the voice and the tone. So the more you can get closer to that, you're going to build a sustainable business. It might take longer because you're not chasing the clicks and all the rest of it. But I think we're moving into an area where you kind of fall into I will do the short form content and try and really play the game. And there's a value there. Or you try and shoot for the nuance. And this is where this podcast is valuable. It's like, we're going to have a proper conversation.
Exactly.
We're going to open up Pandora's box, find out all those little nuggets of wisdom. And we know the value of podcasts. Like there's some podcasts out there with like 500 million like views a month. I was reading a statistic on Lewis Howes's podcast this morning. I was like, that's bonkers.
Absolutely bonkers.
So
absolutely.
There's real appetite.
And it is good news, exactly that, because the depth, it provides that space and time to go deep and allowing for some of that nuance, which you don't get in the shorter form content, that more clickbaity sort of stuff. That really resonates. I think I've definitely sort of fallen like in the middle there and finding the way. But what speaks to me is actually the patience that's required for it. I think you can, using like a food analogy, I think you can fall into that trap of chasing the sugar high and the quick fix, and that's kind of playing into the algorithm and the clickbaity sort of style, versus the good, nutritionally refueling food that is going to be better for us. Was there a catalyst for you? You mentioned that there was a shift and you kind of revisited your personal brand strategy.
Yeah, so COVID, towards the end of COVID, I got long COVID. So I became very depressed, very despondent, no motivation, didn't want to get out of bed, and it just fueled a kind of, we'll call it a self-crisis. And on my journey to better physical health, I realized that there's more to physical health, a lot more. And I've been in the health game for 20 years. And it made me then start to look at the mental health, emotional health, our energetic health as humans. And with that, you start to become closer to your truth as a human, because you start to have to peel back all these layers of stories that you're telling yourself, faulty belief systems, limiting beliefs. So the hardest thing I found is that I was changing a lot as a person, and I was still trying to move my personal brand forward. And that meant I was like, I was
out of alignment.
Yeah, I was just at this intersection all the time. Oh, we're going left. Oh, we're going right. Okay, straight ahead. I need to be doing this. And I wish I'd had the foresight or a great coach who'd been through a similar journey and go, no. These are two separate things. We think about the business. We think about your personal brand. What does your personal brand need to do right now to maybe support your business? Great, let's do that. And then what's happening with you is kind of over there. And unfortunately, my personal brand was a massive driver for our business's success. And I had a lot of my identity wrapped up in my personal brand. So as it started to shift for me internally, I was like, what do I do? Yeah. Like, because I'm still the kind of nutrition guy or whatever, but I'm kind of more than that. I'm now a dad, and all of this has happened. So unfortunately, hopefully I can just give a few tips so people don't screw it up as much as I did.
You haven't screwed up at all. Gang, whether or not you like it, if you're in business, you're in sales, full stop. And in today's day and age, there is no excuse not to leverage the best tech to make you smash your sales and commercial strategy. Because here's the thing, I bet whichever CRM you're using is simply telling you what happened after the matter, but gives little to no insight on why deals are stalling or closing. That's why I am genuinely so happy to tell you about Gong, the revenue AI platform that turns every customer interaction into actionable intelligence. Whether you're trying to improve prospecting, sales productivity, customer expansion, or revenue predictability, Gong offers a single AI platform purpose-built for revenue teams. Identify what separates your top performers from the rest, surface the objections that kill deals, reveal the patterns behind your wins and losses, and know exactly which messaging resonates with prospects. With powerful tools to understand every customer interaction, you can finally put an end to the guesswork and start scaling what actually works. Honestly, gang, this is such a cool tool for building sales machines. This isn't just about better data, it's about predictable revenue growth. Now, while your customers rely on gut feelings and outdated playbooks, you'll have an AI-powered insights driving every strategic decision. If you're ready to turn your sales conversations into competitive advantage, then head straight to the show notes for your unique Gong link and see why thousands of revenue teams trust their growth to revenue AI. Because in sales, strategy beats tragedy every time. All right, gang, let's get back to the episode. That's it. So did you not find that, like, well, throwing in being a dad and all these other aspects of your personality, could you not kind of throw them into the mix and evolve with that? Or
I did. It's just when your health's not great, you just don't have a good platform for thinking clearly, operating productively. So, like, for me, health is such a foundation in all that we do. And as soon as it starts to slip, you're not as present, you haven't got the focus, you're not thinking clearly, you're not a very good leader to yourself and other people. So your health always has to be a priority. And I was just trying to do too much of it all and try and make a success of it all. And part of that was the pressure that I put on myself, the expectation that I'd placed on myself to be able to juggle all these things because I'd been so good at it. Like my 20s, I became an expert at doing 1,000 things, working 12 hours, 14 hours a day. Life changed and I wasn't readjusting.
This has become such a common theme, especially with, I'm not sure if you would, I guess you fall into like the millennial like generation, same as me, but
39. So.
Right, okay. Elder millennial perhaps. But yeah, it's such a common pattern that we see, especially when you do have the energy, and the world did look differently as well when we were in our 20s, that you could just like push and go for it. And it's not until you're forced for whatever reason that you have to confront actually thinking strategically, actually making tough choices, deciding, I'm geeked out on actually the linguistic origins of the word decide. So this absolutely blew my mind. So I just want to share this with listeners as well. So the word decide, I don't know if you already knew this, Ben, but the side, if you think about where that comes into play in other words, so can you think of other words that have side at the end, the same as decide?
No, under pressure, no.
By the way, gang, don't judge Ben too harshly, because when you've got 3 cameras on you, it is difficult to think clearly. Homicide, suicide, like, and it comes from death. And decide means what you're killing off. It's what you're killing off. You're deciding, you're killing off these other things.
Yeah.
And this is where, like, the art of strategy is not what you say yes to, it's what you say no to. So this is a bit of my current obsession at the moment, is that, like, stripping things away. And so relating this to our early stage entrepreneurs who are listening, who are, depending on what age or generation they're in, regardless, if you're in the early stages of business, you are under a lot of pressure. So with the sort of less is more idea in mind, what can you speak to, especially with your coaching as well, right? Like, what can you speak to for these early stage entrepreneurs who either have the energy or they're going to find the energy from somewhere to try and do all of the things? How can you counteract that?
As soon as you can afford it, get a coach or join a group or find a community that you can meet with where you're starting to hear stories about kind of what you need to do. Because so much of building a business for so many people is kind of like in your bedroom, doing the thing, foot to the grind.
Lonely.
You're just in your own kind of like echo chamber. And then a new opportunity comes up and you're like, oh, okay, I'll do that. And you'd already kind of agreed on a strategy with yourself. And now you're veering off the strategy, because it's like fitness. You start going to the gym and the results are really slow. Okay, you've seen a bit of weight loss on the scales, but you're like, this isn't going that fast. Perhaps I should do this diet. And it was like, you just need to keep going for like another 3 weeks and you'll start high-fiving yourself and being like, boom. And it's the same in business. Like, you're going. You're like, I mean, I remember I started blogging. In 2009, and it took me 2.5 years to get my first like on Facebook of sharing one of my blogs. And I wrote a blog every week. And do you know, the only thing that kept me going is that I'd read that many business books where they were just like, you've got to keep going. You've got to be consistent. Like, this is a 2, 3. And I always had this 3-year number in my mind that you should, if you're doing a good thing, start to really get moving at year 3. And I did. I started to get moving at 3 years. At the 3-year mark, I was able to go, do you know what, I can leave my other jobs now. I can like do this full time.
Fantastic.
So
I love that you share that little tidbit of literally that stuff like that we need to hear. Everyone needs to hear, entrepreneurs especially, of that real specificity in your example there of, I was blogging every single week for 2.5 years until I got my first like that's important to share.
They might not have even read it. I've just got like a sympathy. Like.
It was Ben's mum. It was Mrs. Coomber. But you know, this really aligns up. I happen to be reading the book Psychology of Money at the moment, and it talk literally the bit I'm reading about those two things is the almost like the compound interest, the 1%, and it's kind of what you're saying there with the diet. You go to the gym and you start to lose a few kilo, or you know, you shed that first weight, and then it sort of tapers off. And it's so easy to then go and look for something else when you need to just keep going. You need to toe the path and stay steady on that. And then the fact that you need that resilience, you need to keep going. I just want to share this with listeners as well. There's an amazing story that really resonated on Walt Disney, actually, and how he produced literally hundreds of hours of animation that never got seen, that were not a success by anyone's metric, took his business into bankruptcy, fallings out, like pure like failures left, right and center. And it was actually the film Snow White that was the game changer for Walt Disney, and that earned him his first Oscar. It put him on the global stage and yielded, adjusted for inflation, like billions today. It was an absolute like real game changer. And the money he made from Snow White, he was able to purchase the studios that still stand today in Burbank. But it was that typical, you don't see the rest of the iceberg. This is the tip. You think Disney, don't even question it, theme parks, but all of that hard graft that's gone in. So I want to connect that back to your health, because obviously like health, athleticism always has this really great connection with entrepreneurship. So you mentioned that you were in health for 20 years. What is your background, Ben?
So at age 18, I was trying to audition for drama school and become an actor.
Nice.
And it wasn't going very well.
Common.
No,
Okay.
it didn't go very well, as you can see. And
Hey, you're on the UK's top 20 business show. God, you made it.
very true. I have made it. Thank you. I'm going to go tell my mum after this. And with all the rejection within it, I started to look at myself in the mirror. And at the time, I was obese, overweight, had eczema, had asthma. I was just not in a great place. And I just sort of looked at myself and said, perhaps I'm part of the problem. Perhaps I'm not, and I looked at actors of the day, and you look at like Brad Pitt, and like they were slim, they looked good. Like I was like, I should probably try and do that. So I went on a health journey, had a lot of hiccups, came into contact with a great coach. He sat me down, and in 30 minutes, he changed the whole trajectory of everything that I was doing. And in the space of 8 months, I lost 5.5 stone,
Wow.
solved all my health, got on the way to solving a lot of my health issues. And that just got me very interested in health because it's just such a transformation. I was like, wow, interesting. So I was grappling with acting and health, and I always wanted to go traveling. So I went backpacking on my own through Asia.
Wow.
And it was during that time I was piecing some ideas together, and I came home, and my girlfriend at the time went for a walk, and she was like, she gave me good advice. She was like, just pursue what you're passionate about right now, which is what my mum's always said. And she was like, maybe do the fitness thing. So I took a bit of money that my mum had from university, trained to become a personal trainer, nutritionist, masseuse. So stayed as a hands-on one-to-one coach for on and off 5 to 6 years, mostly part-time. I was never full-time as a trainer. I was always doing other things.
So did you have a day job during this?
At the beginning I did.
What was that?
I was a van driver.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was just incredibly curious, and I knew there was something in me that wasn't I didn't want to be a one-to-one coach full time. There was just a lot of curiosity within me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe call it the ADHD, I don't know. And I started doing all sorts of different jobs. And then when I was at uni, I kind of got the bug for business in that they launched an enterprise center and they had grants going. So they emailed around all the students. And they were like, we've got grants. Who wants to start a business? I was like, sounds cool.
That's so exciting.
Mum always said I was entrepreneurial. So sat down. I actually had an idea at the time and sat down with them, and they helped me build out the idea.
Nice.
Built it, failed miserably. It was absolutely terrible.
What was the first idea?
It was called yourdietadvisor.co.uk. It was an online nutrition coaching service, but it was just set up incredibly complicated. The avatar I didn't actually want to coach. So I rebuilt that business, and that business became my first ever successful business. Had 12 coaches working after me. We were coaching thousands of people. And then that morphed into education. And then the supplement business came in 2016. But within all of that, there's always been a personal brand within it. I've always enjoyed writing and speaking and coaching. And that's always wrapped and intertwined itself around my businesses.
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, personal brand, what's your advice to early stage entrepreneurs now in 2025? This will be coming out around sort of September, October time, maybe. So bear that in mind with the timing, because I know how quickly these things kind of change. What's your advice now? Because I know that I was just talking to someone earlier. I've been posting consistently on LinkedIn for well over 5 years, since BC, before COVID, right? And saying about I'm not a published author yet. And I was thinking, actually, the amount of posts that I've published on LinkedIn over all those years, if you think 5 times a week for basically 6 years, as a fucking LinkedIn trilogy within that. But I've seen it morphed and changed so incredibly in that time. So now, this next era, as we're coming into that second half of the 2020s, what's your advice now on how to approach building a personal brand?
In marketing, because this has come up already, there's so many ways to market a business, and they do all work. YouTube, podcast, flyers, it all works. What you've got to do is refine the strategy, do it long enough so you're starting to learn and iterate and what works and A/B test and all that kind of stuff. With personal branding, with finding your feet with it, and this is only from the recent journey that I've kind of been on, it's very easy to look at maybe what your market wants or what the product wants or whatever. The best thing you can do is find a way to speak your own truth. Mm-hmm. And all the power in personal brand is when you get the richness of someone's stories. And one of the greatest storytellers on the internet right now in kind of business, I think, is Alex Hormozy. And he actually takes incredibly, I'm going to say, quite boring stories sometimes, like, I did this, I left my job, but he tells it in a way where you're like, oh my God, that was really like bold and whatever. And like, it is a good story and it's a very real life story, but he's just
The way
really,
it's told.
yeah, the way it's been told, the passion of it, and it's incredibly relatable. And actually, you listen to Hormozy and he's constantly telling you it. And the more that you can get in touch with your own stories, like what makes you great? What adversity have you been through? What challenges have you had? Like right now, who I coach, I'm coaching people through the challenge that I had 4 years ago where I was lost, depressed, had the money, didn't have the time, was mentally crippled. Like now I can help you through that journey. And now I'm going to try and tell those stories because they are my truth.
Yeah, you've actually been there. You've lived through it. You're speaking to that younger self.
And that's resonance.
Yeah.
People will pick up on that and you will then find your people.
Yeah. So you mentioned Hormozy. I'm aware that we need to close the loop on Steven Bartlett before we keep going any further as well. But Hormozy, do you like him? Do you look up to him? What's your thought?
Yeah. Okay. I think he very much fits into the hustle culture narrative. Like he's going hard. He's just in that season where it's like, I'm going for it. I don't care. Like this is what I'm building. That's kind of great. So like with business, when people get lost, I find people often get lost because they've kind of lost their way with what they're building and why they're building it. So like I work with a lot of established entrepreneurs where they're like, do you know what? My business is doing 1.5 million, like, but I don't have much time. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, cool. Why did you build this thing? Tell me what your goals are. Why are you reading Hormozy's book when actually you just want to go on holiday with your kids, have more time and have a rich lifestyle?
Yeah.
So make sure you're modeling your success on the right kind of model.
On your own definition.
Hormozy's a bad example for you.
Right.
He's got great insight. He's got great tips. He's got amazing books. And I think Chris Williamson always says this from Modern Wisdom podcast. He said, if you idolize someone and you won't take all of the things that make them great, be careful what you idolize because you're creating a blueprint on that individual. You don't actually want that. You just want kind of bits of that. So make sure you're finding your own kind of compass. So any business owner that's listening to this, it's like you'll get to these inflection points. Like you'll write down a goal, like I want to make 10K this month. Cool. When you get 10K, what does that mean for you?
Right.
Like, and reassess. Don't just keep going because you carry on the treadmill. Like some people can get to 10K with a 70% profit business and go, actually, I'm earning 7K a month. That's
doing well.
Pretty freaking good.
Right.
Like, I'm earning twice what the average median income is in the UK. Like that's a good life. So like readjust. Because otherwise, this unhealthy hamster wheel of just more keeps going and going and going.
For literally what reason?
But for what?
Yeah, exactly.
So just readjust and why.
Again, in Psychology of Money, this bit that really resonates is a lot of people say they want to be a millionaire, but actually, do they want to spend £1 million? Because spending £1 million is different to being a millionaire. And it's like all those connotations that come with being a millionaire, the fast cars, the yachts, whatever. You've literally spent your money on all of these assets. So there is like, actually, to your point on like aiming for these 10K months is like, okay, and then what? Like, what does that actually mean? So I have to ask, mentioning Hormozy, and he's kind of part of that hustle culture family, as a health expert and the founder of a health brand now, what's your take on hustle culture?
Does it fit what you're doing and why you're doing it? Like, look, some people out there, they're trying to build something great and we need change makers. Like I'm a change maker, or I try to be to an extent, but I have my boundaries. So for example, I work about 25 hours a week. I won't really work anymore in case I'm doing something maybe doing something special, a bit of travel or something. And that's a boundary that I've put in place because when I work more, some of the passion dies off a little bit, some of that spark, that fire. And also, I'm a dad, I want to spend as much time as possible with my kids. I love going on holiday a lot. I love playing sport. And actually, it is physically impossible to work 50, 55 hours a week and be present for your kids and look after your body and have a social life. So, and also I think it's a very interesting challenge because an entrepreneur will happily work 50 hours a week and you'll fill those 50 hours and sometimes you won't really know what's moved the needle on the 50 hours, but because you're applying so much effort, something must be working. So it was a great exercise for me to go, okay, if next week, and let's just say there's a business coach in the room, saying this to me, next week, Ben, you're only allowed to work 30 hours. What do you do? And then you work 30 hours and you're like, hang on a second, I had the same output. I just focused on the shit that was really important. So then I played another game. Ben, you're only allowed to work 25 hours this week. Okay, what do you focus on? And I got down to like 18, 15 hours. And I was like,
Nice.
Like there's a lot of filler here going on.
Yeah.
Because you have to be brutal.
I love this. I'm so happy you mentioned that, because this is the working harder fallacy of like, you think you put in the more reps, the more hours, the more output you're going to get. No. And when you don't know what's going to yield the highest results, because, you know, especially in those early days, there's a lot of experimentation, but it does mean that you're running that risk of wasting a lot of time. So I guess like whatever sense you've got of the higher ROI activities, I actually don't think, looking at it from that different perspective, actually, what is the filler? That's a really great like framing that you put there with that question of, if you've only got this many hours, it really it's a forcing question to be like, okay, because how much time do we waste on like admin, on, I mean, especially we mentioned like LinkedIn before as well, social media, like checking notifications and all these little like bits and bobs. Have you heard of the rocks, pebbles and sand time analogy?
Yeah, sort of, but you're welcome to tell the story.
Well, okay, so in case anyone else hasn't, so basically you've got like a glass and you've got rocks, you've got pebbles, you've got sand. If you start by putting the sand and then the pebbles, the rocks aren't going to fit. If you start with the rocks and then the pebbles, and then the sand will find its way in the cracks and in around the gaps between the rocks and the pebbles. So that's an analogy used in time management, where if you get stuck into the admin, responding to emails, checking notifications, answering Slack messages, that all kind of falls into the sand category, and that can sort of just like fit around the edges. But if you haven't already made space for the rocks, so to your point on that important work, the deep work, what's actually going to yield the highest ROI, then you will never have space for that. And that's like, I fell into that major trap, like especially with my background and everything else. I had to unlearn so much, because what got me here won't get me there. And I had to really, I mean, I'm still honestly kind of unlearning that with like that. Those sand items, they're also never going to end. That's another way you can identify what sort of tasks they are. You'll never get to the end of that sort of to-do list. You'll never get to the end of all the social media notifications. You'll never get to the end of answering everyone's email. And so you need to kind of shift that mindset of, I need to get all this done. And once that's ticked off my list, then I can turn my attention and focus on this. So anyway, so
just a little exercise
people
can do. So when you're doing your work, have a notepad next to you, and you write down the task and you score it out of 10. And you just literally go by either data or feeling. And both are the same, because when you're in your early stage of your business, you are doing lots of things you're trying to make work.
100%.
So you have to hustle for like the first, I don't know, let's just say at least a year or two.
Yeah.
And then when you see patterns and data, you start to go, okay, let's stop doing that, doing that. And then you start to forge a clearer, smarter path. So as you're going about your day, literally write email newsletter from a certain company. Okay, 3, got no value from it. And you just keep writing this data, and then you can go back through at the end of the week and like all of the things that are below a 5 or a 6. Because if that company sent 3 emails that week and you scored it a 3, a 2, a 4, no value, like get rid of it. There's more value out there. You wasted 5 minutes of your time.
Yeah.
And that can be a really simple way of just trying to really simply just get rid of like any kind of fluff.
Yeah. And it's not even so much about the minutes, but it is the attention and the energy and what it sucks from you. And I think even more importantly than that is the habit that it's building, because it's just that habit that you're not even consciously like, are you consciously craving to go and read that newsletter? I mean, there's definitely 1 or 2 that I think are amazing that I definitely look forward to landing in my inbox. But if it's not if you start with that blank canvas and you start out with that decision making, that proactive from you of like, these are the things I'm going to do, these are my priorities, it's then the other stuff that gets in the way. It's then that habit, that automatic, I'm checking my emails. Why? Like, is that going to move the business forward? Like, stick to the path.
I don't know if you do this. I really like it. I've done it for a long time because I've been a digital nomad kind of business wise for a long time. Is I'll do certain types of work in different locations. I've got quite a
Nice.
large office.
That's cool.
So I've got a big iMac,
Yeah.
do certain things on that iMac.
Yeah.
And then I've got like a little bench seat, and I'll go and do my emails on the bench seat or in a cafe.
Yeah.
Then I'll do my writing always away from the office.
Yeah.
Go somewhere. And I feel that there's quite a nice ritualistic component to some of our work. Like, I'm going to do 2 hours of writing. Going to sit down, set the scene, grab my favourite cup of coffee, whatever, and you really enjoy it. Whereas if you're sitting there for 8 hours at a computer, and during those 8 hours you've got blog, Slack, email, like bam, 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 it's all just like a bit of a mess.
Absolutely.
And you never either get into a flow, and you never really kind of invest yourself in the task at hand. It's just this mess of bouncing around.
Yeah.
I find that brings a lot more satisfaction to work as well.
Exactly. I mean, how many days have we had where we get to the end of it and we feel like we've been busy, but we're not actually sure how productive that busyness have been? I just laughed at that because you've just made me realise I think I do that subconsciously without even realise it.
Cool.
And I think that the different spots that I do different things, which is one of the many reasons why I am such an advocate for that flexible remote working as well, because one of the many things that's wrong with that status quo, like office environments, like I can't ever go back to that. I can't ever go back to like that one desk, that one location to do all of your work in an open environment with distractions. That's just the beginning. Anyway, did we close the loop on Steven Bartlett? I've said that a few times now. Let's get back to that.
Probably not. I don't know.
Let's close the loop on that because I wanted to ask you, why was that so important to you? Like, why did it bug you so much that he spread that misinformation?
I'd listened to his podcast for a long time and had a lot of respect from him.
Yeah.
I listened to it from a business perspective, really enjoyed a lot of his early shows. And being a health practitioner, I spend a huge amount of time, as does any health coach, in quite often, trying to rewrite misinformation. You'll sit down with a client and they're like, oh, I read this and Steven Bartlett said this. And because Steven Bartlett has a huge amount of authority and clout, he has more weight than I do, whether I've got 15 years working in nutrition or whatever, because of perceived credibility bias. So I thought, okay, there's loads of people that I could pick on. There's loads of podcasts I can write an open letter to. But I also saw something in him. It's like he is on a massive growth trajectory. He's doing massive things. He has the power to inspire a whole generation to do differently and think differently. I thought, I'm going to aim my letter at him. And it was also because they were taking a very specific misleading health approach to their short form marketing. So they were A/B testing to death, because I know, many of us know the approach of their marketing person, in that they're trying to find the hook that sells. And they're throwing out comments on Instagram that's getting millions of views, like, you can increase your testosterone by 1,300%. That's physically impossible. That statistic's literally been pulled via an orifice, and you're like, that's such bad misinformation, because hundreds of thousands of people are going to go and do that thing that is beyond ridiculous. Like, where have they found this health expert? So I kind of wanted to just try and do something. Yeah. And that letter seemed to hit the mark.
It really did.
There's been some changes. Whether I affect that or not, I don't know. But someone has to knock down a domino.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll give you that. I'll definitely credit that to you. I mean, it did, as we said at the start, it garnered 1 million views, more than that, which is incredible. So it makes a lot of sense. And I think it was about time. I think also it's like there are all these rumblings. And I know definitely in my circles as well, all of these things are being talked about at events, network, all these things, but you were the one to go and say it publicly and put it out there and get that traction. I think where it's a more dangerous game than some of the other personal brand marketing that we've talked about is because it's to do with people's health. So not to keep banging on about book recommendations, but the one just before this was Bad Blood, the story of Theranos by Elizabeth Holmes, and how actually the delusion and the vision and the work ethic would have been majorly celebrated if it had been a success and if there were a few other things that were changed in that. But the fact ultimately that you're operating in the medtech space, or in this case more health, this is where you don't have as much license to play around with it. What are the most common challenges and traps that founders fall into when it comes to their health when you coach them?
Not listening to their biology. We're in a we're in a culture where we are seeking hyperproductivity because it should, in theory, equal more output. So AI is feeding this, hugely now as we're trying to use it to accelerate progress in whatever we're kind of doing. And whenever we kind of feel tired or whatever, I think the solution for most entrepreneurs is another cup of coffee or another caffeinated drink. And the signals of tiredness are either indicating that you're mentally fatigued, you're emotionally fatigued, you're physically fatigued, you might just have eye strain, like we're not really tuned in. So when we talk about balance, really what we want with balance is giving our body enough capacity to do all of the different things that we want to do in our life. Now, you can work a lot. I don't have an issue with working a lot, but you have to do a certain amount to balance out that equation because you are not a machine. You only have a certain amount of capacity. And as you get older, that capacity, in my experience, does diminish. I'm not the same in my 20s as I am in my 30s, and I'm an incredibly healthy guy. There is a little edge, like I'm a little bit kind of rougher. It takes a bit more recovery sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a big one. The second one is like not knowing your drivers, what you're actually kind of driven by, and they can evolve as the journey evolves. You start to see things, as you start to get success, it brings different things out in kind of yourself. And then they're kind of like probably the two biggest things.
Yeah.
I suppose the third thing is probably, when we think about things like going for a walk or doing yoga, there's this kind of transactional mindset where you're like, oh, I'm doing yoga to de-stress.
Yeah.
I'm going for a walk to like get my steps in. It's
box.
like, yeah, but actually all of this is just the creative, beautiful flow of life. Like, you will not get your best idea in the office. You will get your best idea on a walk or at length 30 in the pool or in your fifth squat in the gym sort of thing. So like actually doing all of these things makes you a more balanced, creative individual. Like I feel that it's almost like going on a holiday is strategically beneficial to my business because I'll get a really freaking good idea. Like, so rather than going on holiday twice a year, maybe we go on holiday 6 or 7 times a year. And the thing that I find is when you actually weave more balance in, or things other than work, let's call it that, you create this kind of tension in yourself where you're like, so for example, I never really work more than 5 hours now. And there's a really nice tension to that where I'm like, I've got 5 hours. Let's go.
Exactly.
Whereas if you're like, oh, I've got all day.
Yeah.
I've got to work all day. It's like it's just this open loop of work.
I think it's called Parkinson's law, where you just the task expands to fill the time available. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And this is also why I think mums are the biggest like superhero powerhouses, because like they're like, they have to make every minute matter, right? Like they are just like, okay, on the clock, need to really kind of extract as much value from like whatever time. Dads as well, of course, but still largely tends to be mums.
It's easier for dads because, from my experience anyway, my kids are only 3 and 5. When the kids are younger, they want mum more than dad. That's just the reality.
Yeah,
my experience.
Yeah. So I feel like we all know that we need to be getting a decent amount of sleep. We need to be fueling our bodies in the right way. We need to be taking regular breaks. We need to be moving our bodies, maybe a bit of meditation, clear the headspace a bit. But what's actually getting in the way in all of your phenomenal like coaching experience of people putting that into action?
The fear that if they don't keep working, they won't make it. And then we've got to then ask the question, what does make it mean? What are you doing? Why are you doing it? So, a lot of entrepreneurs will wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, they've been rustled in their sleep, and then they're like, oh, that thing tomorrow. And they're like, and then they can't get back to sleep. So then they're kind of up. You say you're going to go to the gym at 4 or 5 o'clock, and then, something important comes in. It's like, there's just this fear floating around, and it's got many different layers: fear of failure, fear of whatever. And I think that gets in the way of a lot. But what we want to do is we want to live our lives from a place of constant opportunity rather than fear. not fear that we won't make it, the opportunity that what if we do make it, what we're going to build. But I know that to make it, I've got to look after my body. I've got to look after my mind. I've got to look after my emotional health. I can't just push it to the side. You can push it to the side for a while, but at some point, it's going to come and bite you back.
Yeah.
And that's been kind of my journey the last couple of years, is getting rid of all the fear and getting to the truth of what I'm building, why I'm building it, who I am, like what I'm doing it for. Because fear can be a very unhealthy driver.
You hit the nail completely on the head there, Ben. And what you also make me wonder is whether there's like a delayed gratification element to this that puts people off. So what I mean by that specifically is you won't feel the immediate effects of, I don't know, going to the gym or doing a meditation or whatever. And you're like, oh, that was a waste of time, especially if you're not that way inclined. I guess maybe exercise is the exception to that, right? Because I feel like after you've had a good workout, like anyone feels better. But I guess like, is that another element where you're not seeing those immediate rewards to justify doing it consistently to build that habit?
Yeah, I think anything that we do, if you see a benefit, you will buy in, right? And some things in life are hard, like meditation. For someone that's got a busy mind, running a business, a lot of business owners have ADHD. Meditation can be challenging, but I kept pushing meditation to the side. And there was this one talk. I was in a business mastermind, and they'd brought this guy in, and this guy ran 350 million pounds of like various grouped companies, and his job was to basically keep building this business by acquiring more companies. So this is like massive business this guy's doing, and he was the most chill dude in the world. And when he walked in, I was like, this guy's not the speaker. He looks like a middle management from IT, kind of like in BT, like just
it's like not a care in the world.
and
Relax.
he just sort of rolled in and he said, do you want to know my secret of building all of this stuff? He said, meditation.
Wow.
And he just pitched his journey with meditation so well, and what it looked like and what he gets out of it now. And I was like, that's quite a compelling argument to actually invest more time. Because how many people with something like meditation, we sit down and we're like, I've been here 10 minutes.
Right.
Nothing's working.
Right.
Mine's not quiet. I don't know why I'm doing this. Okay, Dave's wrong, like whatever. And then we kind of leave it. And, like most things in life, you get 2, 3, 4 months in and you're like, oh, I'm starting to see where the power of this is.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the gym. Yeah, you get early results, but like, it's like weightlifting. You're like, actually, my ass now, ooh, like now I see it. And now you're really bought in.
So give us the TLDR of this guy's pitch on why meditation was so transformative.
He basically said that, look, I've got all of this data floating around internally, externally, and meditation gives me an opportunity to just like see it all, feel it all, become very calm, know where the truth is, because information's coming at me all the time and I have to kind of put it all down and just like sit with it. And I think there's an element to it of like, you're getting in touch with your intuition again. And in a world that's heavily led by data, like, yeah, great. But like, if you feel like you don't want to do it or the path is over there, go with your feeling. Like, you will always be motivated to do something that you feel good about. So if you want to go and serve X, person that you're not currently serving, pivot your business, because you will be so invested into it because that's where your passion is.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he was always also getting at, because, businesses on paper, they can all look good on a spreadsheet or whatever. And it's like, actually, I feel like this one has the opportunity. I have seen their leadership team and their leadership team feels really credible. And you just start to feel your way around the numbers and start to go, that's what my gut's saying. It's over there. Let's go.
I'm so here for this. I really think we've developed a really unhealthy over obsession and over idolization of data in this day and age. I think because of tech, because of the information age, and actually the explosion from like the Enlightenment era in the 19th century, like it's all become a spreadsheet has so much more value and weight to it than your gut instincts, which is completely wrong. So I'm definitely with you on that. You mentioned kind of all these outside noises and factors that can kind of move you in different directions. I want to talk a bit about dopamine as well, right? So dopamine in terms of both physically, what we can put into our bodies, but also we talked about social media as well. So on the online content space, do you have any like tips, tricks, advice on breaking dopamine addiction and why it's important for entrepreneurs?
So when I used to coach my clients with nutrition, I used to get them to do this little exercise, which was before you eat anything, you have to look at it for 30 seconds.
That's funny.
And what it did is it created a habit loop of like, oh, I'm not just going to automatically eat this, because we can all eat somewhat automatically, given how we feel, emotional state, the environment. You're at a pub, like there's a bowl of chips in the table, and before you know it, you've taken 6 handfuls, you've not even really thought about it. So what I like to do is create loops and allow yourself to lean into that space. Alcohol is a great example, right? When you quit alcohol, the first like month's like easy because you're like, yeah, I'm doing it, like sober, whatever. And you don't really think about what you're missing because you make a conscious choice to say, I'm going alcohol free for a month. Now, if you do it longer, you start to have to lean into all the places where alcohol filled in your life, where you're like, you're now in a bar and everyone's ordering a drink. And now you have to sit with that thought of, if I don't have a drink, will I be able to socialize? Like, will I be involved? Will I be included? Will it be fun? Like, and you have to sit with that. And that's where real growth is as a person, is sitting with all that uncomfortable shit and actually kind of leaning into it. So when we think about dopamine, when we think about where we're engaging with this stuff, quite a lot of it is social media, with food. Like, before you go on your phone, just pause. Like, even for 5 to 10, why am I going on my phone? Because for so many of us, we've built these habit loops where you might, I'm going to say it, you might sit down for a poo and you're like, I'll get out my phone. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I've been on the toilet for 10 minutes because you've been scrolling Instagram or whatever. And it's like, let's break all these loops and intentionally say, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? And then we have to lean in to that answer.
Are there some practical pattern interruptions that you can give us as like inspiration? Because we can't rely on our self-discipline, and maybe like having just listened to you and with your voice fresh in people's minds, maybe that lasts for like a day or tomorrow. But when that wears off, are there any other go-to pattern interruptions?
So I love extreme experiments because I find it teaches the human, you, what is actually going on. So alcohol is a good example. So your phone, you could create a phone screen that says, what the are you doing? And every time you go to your phone, you have to just think, oh, yeah, what am I doing? Okay, I just picked up my phone because I'm bored. Okay, why am I bored? Okay, and then you get to unpack that. You could have an app on your phone where you're not allowed to get into social media till like after 6 p.m. And then you have to lean into that space of like, oh, why do I feel uncomfortable that I can't get on Instagram? What now? So just think about, like, have the confidence to do these extreme experiments and you will learn so much about yourself.
Yeah, I love that, Ben. Amazing. All right, before we start wrapping, because I wanted to make sure we covered all these different topics, I cannot leave you on a Founder Entrepreneur podcast without talking about your own business, of course. So you did mention this is kind of the result of various other businesses. So it's always really great for entrepreneurs to also hear about previous ventures, previous failures, and how this is. So this is the third business that we've got here with Awesome.
Yeah, this is actually my third supplement company.
Oh, okay.
Which I don't think anyone knows.
Strategy and Tragedy exclusive, gang. This is why you tune into this show. So overall, what number business is this? Third supplement, but
I don't know. Third supplement business. It'll be like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7. I don't know.
Okay, something like that.
You know, when you're early, like there's so many little like projects. Like we did retreats, and I've done this, and
all right, well, let's say 7.
Yeah, I don't know.
7th heaven.
Yeah.
7th business overall. Third supplement company. Yeah. What are you getting right this third time around that you got wrong with the previous supplement businesses?
The previous supplement businesses were incredibly niche. The first one was a single product sold to a very specific market, solve a very specific problem.
Which was?
I didn't put my face behind it. I just built a brand and put it into a niche where I knew it would be successful, and it was successful. I sold it and then kind of moved on to the next idea.
Wow, congrats.
The second business,
what was that niche story with the first one?
It was in muscle building.
Okay.
So it was to help drive anabolism after training.
And where did you get started? Sorry, I keep cutting you off here, but the first business, where did you get started with a physical product? for the first time?
I knew what I wanted, started to phone around manufacturers. You kind of get pricing. They give you minimum order quantities, MOQs. You put your ass on the line of saying, okay, I'll take 1,000 units, and you send them a check, sort of thing.
What validation did you have to order 1,000 units when you were just starting out?
Naivety,
Right.
I think, is actually what, like,
The honest answer.
yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna go for it.
Go for it. Make it work.
And I had a business that was bringing in some profit, so I used the profit to start to play around and try some other stuff. The second business was incredibly niche. It was in transdermal technology. So you put a cream on your skin, it absorbs things through the skin. It was in the sports market, and it was to help with recovery and performance.
Mm-hmm.
If I launched that business now, I think it would work. I think we were way too early. The research wasn't developed enough. My hypothesis, I think, is still kind of correct. And what we saw happen with people was still valid. It was just wrong timing, lack of research, and lack of overall market traction. And it was just started to become very hard because the profit margin was very small as well, which made scaling very, very difficult.
What year was this one?
This would have been like 2012, 2013.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we are going back.
Yeah.
Wow,
and then Awesome Supplements was launched in 2016.
Yeah.
But I was also at the time working with another supplement company as their like brand ambassador, their nutritionist. So I felt that there was a conflict of interest doing anything else. I hadn't actually thought about it. But anyway, I fell out with said company. And in, again, my naivety, thought, how hard can it be to build a bigger, supplement line sort of thing? And we were sitting around the table and people were like, we were talking about names, and people were like, why don't you just call it Awesome Supplements? You say awesome all the time. And I was like, you can't call a supplement brand Awesome Supplements. And then we started to play around with it. I was like, it makes everything so easy. Really... Awesome protein, awesome pre-workout, awesome electrolytes, awesome. I was like, okay.
It's really cool. I love it. I love the name. Yeah, it's great. And so what are you getting right about it this time around?
Well, when we launched, and it's still true today, following the research incredibly closely. Now, with that, what we mean by that is largely the type of nutrients that you use and the dosing. The dosing is incredibly important. So there'll be loads of products out there on the market that are highly famous. I've recently taken a pop at AG1.
I was just going to ask you about them as well. I'm glad. Why should we not be drinking AG1?
Well, a product like AG1 that has 80 odd ingredients, you're never going to get the right kind of dose of all of those ingredients to get the physiological effect that you want. What we end up with is a product where you can make all of these marketing claims because you've got so much in it that it just becomes this overwhelming argument to the end consumer of okay, cool, I'll buy it because of these bazillion reasons to buy it. Now, don't get me wrong, it will have some health effect. There's lots of healthy things in it, but you've got so much underdosing of key nutrients. I did a breakdown of one of their groupings of their proprietary blends. It's got 8 ingredients in it. And the total weight of that micro blend in the product was just over 1 gram. And there was 2 ingredients in it which needed over 1 gram to get the physiological effect that you wanted. So you can be taking a product that might have creatine in it, but it only has 1 gram of creatine. That's not enough. You're not getting the benefit. So that was a real big thing for us, is getting the dosing correct so people could buy it with confidence and be like, oh, okay, this is actually going to work. That does mean the line is on the higher end, on the more premium side, but the things work. And then being really freaking honest with our customers of what they need and what they don't need. No hard sell, no push. And the third thing is taste unbelievable. Every time you drink it, this is great. Love it. Yeah, great.
Nice.
Brilliant.
I should do a live taste test on here with some of these, but I don't want to...
Might get messy.
Open these massive packs. Can I, or is this going to be a bit tricky?
I mean, I've got a shaker. We can try.
The thing is, if I'm going to transport them afterwards...
Well, it's seals again.
Okay.
Yeah, it does it. Real seals.
Let's do it then.
We don't
do a live... I don't know if I should mention, I haven't had anything to eat today, so this is going to go on a completely empty stomach.
What are you why are you not eating?
That's a whole other story.
I mean, I've eaten a lot.
Just a little bit, just a tiny bit.
Here we go. Well, I can't. Yeah, but I've got to get the ratios right.
I'll let the master at work.
Oh God, this is going to be stressful. This is very stressful.
This is live
because I don't have a scoop. I haven't
cameras.
thought about this. Right, hang on. We can do it. Right, let's distract the audience.
Do 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 do.
I think I'm going to get this right.
A few moments later.
So how many protein powders have you tasted?
Oh, great question. Only not that many. Like,
And how many of them have
two
been
or three?
plant-based?
I don't know. Maybe none.
Maybe none. All right. Well, you can just you can judge this on purely the merit of it just being a protein.
Okay, I will do. Oh, already that looks great on camera. If anyone's watching the video, that looks.
I'm going to try it in case I've not put enough in. I don't.
This is high stakes.
It is a little bit watery, but
Okay.
it still tastes unbelievable.
Okay, I'll bear that in mind. So this is gang. I'm trying
That's
all
our
protein plant blend, chocolate salted caramel flavor.
Yeah.
Lovely. And this is plant protein made with organic pea and rice.
yes.
Okay.
And it's won 6 awards so far.
Oh.
Counting. Our 7th is hopefully on the way.
Oh, nice. Maybe by the time this episode is out.
Well, maybe.
All right, this is live. I've never tried any of this before, okay? This is live tape. Nice. Yeah. That's
Yeah?
really yummy. That
Yeah?
I can't. Usually, protein shakes do have like a weird, not even aftertaste, but there's kind of like this other
Mm-hmm.
taste going on.
Yeah.
But maybe that's because I haven't tried plant based.
Maybe.
This is amazing.
I'd want that to be a bit thicker. Like I'd want
Yeah.
30% more powder in it, but the flavour's still there.
And maybe with milk as well, perhaps. So
Oh,
we're just
see, we have
cheeky.
a rule. So a lot of companies, you'll go to like expos, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, we've blended it up with almond milk and a bit of peanut butter and stuff." And like, you just made it taste good by adding all
Right.
these things. So our litmus test is water. That's it. If
Yeah.
it tastes amazing with water, it's going to
Yeah.
taste even more amazing with milk.
That's a great point. If you mix it with like coconut milk or all these other products.
Yeah. If you mix Plenish coconut milk with that, it's unbelievable.
It's funny you mention
chocolate ice cream.
nut. Okay, I'm definitely going to do that. I have a sweet tooth as well, but I didn't even mention to you, I am a chocoholic, so you definitely chose the best flavours for this. Funny you mentioned Plenish, actually, because I recently got that recommended as like a lower sugar oat milk. Is that right?
Yeah.
Like better. So I usually drink mine in Figures
Yeah.
or Outpro.
Oat milk, I like Plenish and Rude.
Okay, I've
They're
not
both
tried either of those.
because they both put a little bit of coconut in it, coconut puree.
Nice.
And it just brings the body of the oat. Like I think it tastes really good.
Okay, I'm going to
Yeah.
buy some on my way home. Ben, thank you so much for bringing some of this for me to try. I feel bad. Audience, well, if there's a promo code we can give the
There
listeners.
is.
Yeah.
You can use the
nice.
code CEO15 and get 15% off.
Nice. Thank you so much for that. Well, gang, I want you to try some of this as well. I feel guilty that I'm the only one getting to try some of this. So what you've got right, there's back to the business. So what you've got right this time around is like product, taste. You are forgoing kind of the pricing efficiency, that more premium positioning to get that quality, to not compromise on that. In terms of growth levers, what are your highest revenue generating channels?
Paid media and ambassadors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which paid media channels in particular?
Facebook, Instagram. We're now starting to play around a bit more with it. TikTok. The thing with all of these channels is it still takes an incredible operator
Yeah.
to get the best out of these channels.
Yeah.
And our battle has been finding great people
Yeah.
that don't end up burning your money. So advice for any early stage people here, I would always recommend trying to find solo contractors. So a paid ads guy that just does his own thing.
Or hers.
Because, or hers, where you're going to get their attention, their reputation is like on the line. You know, there's so many agencies, and like I've now found a good agency that we're doing some marketing with, but I've been burned by a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And we worked with an agency last year. We ended up there was a point where we ended up spending 180 grand in the space of 3 months, and we netted 120. Like, yeah.
Well, that
Yeah,
is
nearly-
painful.
It
What?
crushed our business.
Especially at that level,
Yes.
right? Like if you're spending hundreds or thousands, then like there could be an argument for like, we haven't quite hit like the critical mass, the critical point there.
Yeah.
But that.
So I got my figure around the wrong way. Spent 120 and got 180. So, but
Oh, okay, it wasn't a loss.
it wasn't. It was a loss because the product is 50%
okay.
off the
Right.
cost and whatever. So
Wow.
we made a loss, yeah.
Wow, that took the air out of me. That is painful.
Yeah, it was a painful mistake.
Do you want to give a shout out to the agency that you're currently working with?
We've literally been working with them for like 2 weeks.
All right.
Quite early days. We're very confident, but it is early days. I've known the guy that runs it for like 10 years.
Nice.
He's a great operator.
Okay.
I trust him.
Nice.
The thing with agencies, you can really get sold down the river. Like
Yeah.
the last agency we worked with, they were like, "Oh yeah, we took Huel from 2 to 50 million," and you're like, "Whoa, okay."
Yeah.
And then once you get into the weeds, it's like, like
then the skeletons.
then you drop down to the junior, and then
Yeah.
junior's off, and then you get past to the other junior.
Yeah.
It's like flipping it.
Awful. Yeah. I do 100% agree with you on that. As an ex-agency owner myself, so I used to run a marketing agency for 6 years, and especially when you're in those like early days, you need to get that fit right. Like if you're starting out with a new business, if you're, very kind of cash conscious, if you've got a little bit of external, like whatever in those early days, like go straight to a specialist that's going to give you that time of day, the attention. To your point, their reputation is on the line, but you're cutting out any of those other, because it's a bit like any agency model, like it is a business, and whoever's working on your account, we need to be making our profits on that. It's no surprise. It's like this is the agency model, and so if you're not at that sort of level where it's not the right fit, then go straight to a freelancer, and all the better if you can get a recommendation as well, right? Someone you can trust. So that's great. So you've got paid media, getting a good like operator to manage that, and you said ambassadors as well is working well for you. How's your personal brand playing into this?
At the moment, I'd say it's not.
Yeah.
I'd say the personal
Is that
brand.
conscious?
No, the personal brand's sort of been limping along as I've been figuring some things out, but also I've set up my company Awesome Supplements. I have to be in it a lot less now.
Yeah.
So my needs to be in that company now probably about 4 to 8 hours a week.
Amazing.
So I've really spent the last year stepping back from the business, putting a leadership team in place, getting a really strong marketing team so I can go and do some other things, because I want to get back to speaking and coaching and that kind of stuff. So I had to give my time and attention there.
Yeah.
So the personal brand, if all goes well, should now start to kick on in a more meaningful way. Yeah.
Amazing.
But it did really help build it.
Yeah, for sure. Can I ask, did you take any external investment for Awesome Supplements?
Yeah, leading up to this January, we're now going to do our first raise and go for it.
So you haven't needed to up until?
No, we're bootstrapped until this point.
Okay.
At the moment, we're working with Shopify to get cash injections for our cash flow, because that mistake last year with the agency burnt all of our cash. So we're kind of dining out on borrowed cash at the moment.
Right.
We're still profitable,
yeah,
but it just ruined our cash base. And when you've got to pay a £60 bill for a supplier, it all comes in random chunks. There's no consistent cash flow, so you need quite heavy working capital in product business.
What's the runway that you work to have that buffer? Like 6 months, 12 months?
Ideally like 6 months. Yeah,
I mean minimum 6 months, right?
Yeah, ideally, yeah, but like
working towards that.
We've never built up.
Yeah,
that's been like our previous poor financial management. We approach the business incredibly differently now.
Yeah, interesting. Well, congratulations on building up this business purely bootstrapped, profitable. So like with bringing in a leadership team and your marketing and all the rest of it, is that reinvesting the profits then purely from that?
Yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's impressive, Ben. Well done. Amazing.
Trying.
Ben, we've covered so many of my favourite topics. I could definitely talk to you for so much longer and deep dive even further into health and entrepreneurship and Steven Bartlett. But let's wrap. My traditional closing question on this show is, what's one tragedy that's taught you an unforgettable lesson, Ben?
Losing my health. I was into the health space, still am, but I only ever really looked at the physical body, and I didn't look at the mental and emotional body as well. And they're very valuable, because when they go, it's a downstream effect. When your mind starts to, then you're quickly slipping off. You're a poor leader, you're a poor husband, or I was anyway. So really look at your health full circle, not just your physical. This isn't just make sure you go to the gym, it's make sure you look after your mind, work on all of it.
Where did you go to for your mental health?
I've done a lot. I had therapy for years, And for me, therapy was good for building more self-awareness. But the problem is if you don't deal with the unconscious and subconscious mind, you will never change your behavioral patterns. You will just become aware of your behavioral patterns. So that then led my journey into meditation, breath work, trauma release therapy, psychedelics. I've done all sorts of stuff over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I heard you talk about like this healer that you worked with on another podcast. You said like really helped as well, like
unbelievable
on the energetics and everything.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Amazing. What transformation. Ben, thank you so much for coming on Strategy and Tragedy. What a perfect guest. We've covered all these angles, but definitely a show called Strategy and Tragedy where we talks about the heights, the lows. Sorry, I've got some protein powder in my throat there. This is delicious. Just got caught in my throat. Ben, thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it. And thank you so much for listening as well. You know what to do. Head to the show notes and get your promo code for some of these awesome supplements. Thank you so much for listening. As always, if you've enjoyed this episode, give us a like, hit a follow, and hopefully see you next week. Thanks a lot. Bye.